Bayham XIII, The Order That Survived by Erwin Montrose, Chapter 1. Evan Mercer felt the weight of history pressing down on him as he stood at the edge of the Bayham Abbey ruins. The remnants of the ancient stone walls loomed like lost giants against the bleak sky, remnants of a time long forgotten. But it wasn't the history that gripped his heart with a cold hand. It was the recent memory of the video he had uploaded, the one that had drawn the attention of MI5. Unexpected, unwelcome. What had he done? He pulled his jacket tighter against the biting wind, moving toward the moss-covered entrance cloaked through shadows. Evan had always felt drawn to the mysteries buried in the past, but this was different. The thrill of discovery had transformed into a gnawing anxiety. The carvings he had filmed, symbols that had whispered secrets of the Templars, now echoed ominously in his mind. As he stepped inside, the air shifted. A damp chill greeted him like an old friend. Mingling with the musty scent of ancient stone, he reached for his flashlight, the beam cutting through the darkness, revealing faint outlines of the intricate carvings that had caught his eye on the last expedition. Just a few more days, he muttered to himself, trying to quell the rising tide of uncertainty. You'll find the truth, Evan. Then you can expose it. Yet doubt gnawed at him. Would the truth empower or destroy? The underground passageway yawned before him, its entrance shaped like a gaping maw. Evan hesitated, his instincts screaming a warning. He wasn't just delving into history, he was stepping into a world where the threads of the past intertwined with the present, a world that feared him for seeking the truth. Just then a noise echoed from the depths of the tunnel, a faint scuttling, like the whisper of unseen creatures, or perhaps something more sinister. Evan's heart raced. He switched off the flashlight, crouching low, straining to hear. The echoing silence was thick, almost tangible. Was he truly alone? As his breath steadied, he thought of Helix Guard, the shadowy organization rumored to guard the secrets of the Templars. They wouldn't just let him wander freely, nor would MI5, drawn to the potential chaos of his findings. He had to be careful and fast. With a flick of the switch, the flashlight flickered back to life, illuminating the path ahead as he ventured deeper. The tunnel branched off at several points, each leading into darkness that seemed to throb with anticipation. He marked the walls as he passed, careful to note his route back. Suddenly, a flash of light caught his attention from a corridor to his right. It pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat, a beacon in the cold, clammy dark. Driven by a mix of trepidation and curiosity, he approached. As he turned the corner, he found himself staring at a limestone door, its surface etched with the same symbols he had seen above. They seemed to shimmer in his flashlight's beam, dancing like the shadows of the past. Holy shit, he breathed, an involuntary thrill coursing through him. This was it, the Templar command center beneath Bayham Abbey. He stepped closer, examining the intricate designs. Each line told a story, a warning, or a hidden truth. The realization sent shivers down his spine. What were they preparing for? Evan reached out, tracing a finger along the cool stone. The door felt alive under his touch, pulsing with energy, and suddenly it trembled. He stumbled back, heart pounding in his chest. With a low rumble, the door began to shift, revealing a dark passageway beyond. He could hardly breathe as he peered into the abyss, the air thick with anticipation. But as the door swung open, the warmth of discovery was soon eclipsed by dread. What if he wasn't alone? Fighting the urge to turn back, Evan stepped forward into the newly revealed tunnel, feeling the cool air wash over him. His heart raced as he moved deeper, the darkness swallowing him whole. This was more than an exploration. This was a reckoning with the past. The interior was labyrinthine, with walls carved not just with Templar symbols, but also with alchemical formulas that hinted at knowledge lost to time. Each step he took amplified the sense of urgency. He had to document everything. Suddenly, his phone buzzed violently in his pocket, breaking the oppressive silence. He cursed under his breath, fumbling to pull it out. A notification flashed, an urgent message from Marcus, his research partner. "We need to talk. MI5 is circling." Evan's stomach tightened. He had hoped to shield Marcus from the fallout, but the danger was escalating. He had to act fast. In that moment, He understood the stakes were higher than he had imagined. This wasn't just about uncovering secrets, it was about survival. He tucked the phone back into his pocket and pressed on, now acutely aware of the threat lurking beyond the ancient stone. Without warning, the air shifted again, heavy with an unfamiliar odor, burnt metal and something sweet, like decay. Evan stopped, his instincts screaming at him to retreat. Suddenly, a loud clang resonated behind him, the door he had entered through, slamming shut. Panic surged through him as he turned, heart racing. No, no! He rushed back but found it sealed tight, the stone cold and unyielding. He was trapped. Evan's breath quickened, the thrill of discovery morphing into a sense of claustrophobic dread. The only way was forward. He pressed ahead, moving cautiously. Each step echoed ominously in the silence. He could hear his heartbeat, a relentless drum urging him to flee, but he couldn't turn back. Not now. As he rounded a corner, the tunnel opened up into a vast chamber, illuminated by flickering lights from ancient sconces. The sight that met him made him gasp. A room filled with dusty intelligence ledgers, their pages yellowed with age, the knowledge of centuries waiting to be uncovered. This was what the Templars had guarded. Their secrets, their power. But why had they hidden this? What were they preparing for? The questions swirled like a tempest in his mind. He stepped closer, heart pounding in his ears, but a shadow flitted at the edge of his vision, a dark presence lurking just outside the reach of the light. Evan froze, his breath caught in his throat, and he tightened his grip on the flashlight. Someone was here with him. Who? The chamber felt alive, as if it held its breath, waiting for the confrontation that was inevitable. Evan's pulse quickened. He was no longer just an explorer. He was a target, and the hunt had begun. With a new resolve, Evan steadied himself, prepared to confront whatever lay ahead. He was determined to uncover the truth hidden beneath Bayham Abbey, the secrets that had survived for centuries, and he couldn't let fear dictate his next move.
Chapter 2: Echoes in the Dark. Evan's mind raced as he scanned the chamber, the weight of the moment pressing down on him like a physical force. The flickering sconces cast wavering shadows, each one a potential harbinger of danger. Who else knows about this place? The question gnawed at him as he strained to hear any sound beyond the rhythmic pulse of his own heartbeat.
The uneasy silence was shattered by the softest of rustles, a whisper of fabric against stone. Evan's body tensed, instinctively lowering himself behind a row of dusty ledgers. He could feel the cold stone against his back, grounding him as his thoughts raced. Stay calm. You're a researcher, not a warrior. Yet the primal urge to flee clawed at his thoughts. He carefully peered around the corner of the shelf, and there, illuminated in the dim light, stood a figure. A man, clad in dark clothing, rifling through the ledgers with a deliberate urgency. What the hell? Evan's breath hitching. He fought the impulse to call out. The figure didn't seem to notice him, absorbed in whatever secrets he hoped to unveil. Evan strained to discern more details. The man's face was obscured by the shadows, but the way he moved, quick, practiced, spoke of someone who knew these tunnels well. More than I do, Evan thought, panic creeping back in. He needed to find out who this person was and what they wanted. Suddenly, the intruder straightened, casting a wary glance toward Evan's hiding place. Evan's instincts kicked in. He couldn't stay hidden forever. With a deep breath, he shifted his weight and stepped out from behind the ledgers. "Hey," he called, attempting to sound more confident than he felt. "What are you doing here?" The man turned sharply, eyes narrowing, and in that moment, Evan felt a rush of adrenaline. He was not just an intruder, but also a potential victim. "Who the hell are you?" the man demanded, his voice low and dangerous. Evan hesitated, weighing his options. He could lie, claim to be a researcher like himself, or reveal the truth. But this felt risky. "I'm here to uncover the Templar secrets," he managed, voice steady despite the threat. "What about you?" The man's posture shifted slightly, revealing a glint of metal at his waist. "A weapon?" Evan's heart raced. "You need to leave," the man replied, an edge of urgency in his tone. "This place is not what you think it is." Evan took a step closer, refusing to back down. "I know what I'm looking for. and I'm not leaving without answers. The tension crackled between them, a silent standoff where both were assessing the other. What you've uncovered could bring the whole system crashing down, the stranger said, his voice barely above a whisper, but laced with venom. They will come for you. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Evan's mind raced, recalling the recent events, the messages from Marcus, the warning signs from MI5. Do you work for Helix Guard? He shot back, pressing for more information. Or the continuation? The intruder chuckled darkly, eyes narrowing further. You're in over your head. They're already watching you. You think you found something significant, but it's a trap. Evan felt a knot tighten in his stomach. What trap? What do you know? Everything. The figure replied with a scoff. The Templars' failure wasn't just their fault. They were betrayed by someone close. Their secrets are dangerous, and so are those who seek them. Evan's breath quickened as he processed the implications. Betrayal, secrets, danger. I'm not afraid, he stated, but doubt crept into his voice. Fear is the least of your problems. The man stepped closer, his silhouette more defined in the flickering light. You need to trust me. Before he could finish, the chamber shuddered. The walls echoed with a deep rumble, and dust cascaded from the ceiling. What the hell? Evan exclaimed, gripping the edge of the nearest ledger for support. It's the mechanism. It's been activated, the man shouted, panic now evident in his voice. Evan's heart sank. The failsafe, the unlocking of the chambers. We need to get out. He turned to flee, but the man grabbed his arm, a fierce grip that sent a jolt of electricity through him. Not yet, he hissed, eyes darting toward the shadows beyond the light. If we don't secure the vault, the entire structure could collapse. Evan's mind raced. Stay or run. The choice felt monumental. Why should I trust you? He demanded, pulling away, but not before feeling the man's urgency seep into his own resolve. Because I know the way, he replied, his voice low and steady. And if you want to uncover the truth, you'll need my help. Just then, a loud crashing sound echoed from a nearby corridor, the air thickening with dust and a sense of impending doom. Now, the man shouted, turning on his heel and sprinting toward a narrow passage that Evan hadn't noticed before. With a split-second decision, Evan followed, adrenaline spiking through his veins. He was diving deeper into the unknown, with only this enigmatic stranger as his guide. They dashed through the corridor, the sound of their footsteps mingling with the distant rumblings of the collapsing chamber behind them. The darkness enveloped them, the flickering lights barely keeping the shadows at bay. What's your name? Evan shouted over the cacophony. Ronan, the man replied, glancing back with a fierce determination. And if you want to survive, trust me. Evan hesitated, every instinct screaming at him to be wary. But the urgency of their escape pushed him forward. He was in this now, deeper than he'd ever planned. As they reached the end of the passage, a heavy door loomed ahead, ancient and worn, as if beckoning them into the unknown. Evan's heart raced. What lay beyond could change everything he thought he knew. They reached for the handle together, and the moment felt electric, a threshold between what had been and what was yet to come. With one great push, they opened the door, stepping into darkness once more. And as the echoes of their entry faded into the depths, Evan knew there was no turning back. The secrets of the Templars were closer than ever, but so were the dangers that would stop at nothing to keep them hidden.
Chapter 3. The Chamber of XIII. Evan and Ronan stepped through the heavy door, and darkness enveloped them, the flickering lights from their drones barely illuminating the vast chamber beyond. As the door creaked shut behind them, an echo reverberated through the stone walls, amplifying the gravity of their decision to enter.
The air inside was stifling, thick with the must of centuries and the weight of history. Evan's heart raced. What lay ahead? Stay close, Ronan whispered, his voice barely above a murmur, yet filled with authority. They moved deeper into the chamber, the soft hum of their drones creating a haunting melody against the oppressive silence. Both men scanned the room, their lights revealing intricate carvings that adorned the walls, symbols similar to those Evan had seen in the tunnels. But something was different. These were fresher, as if carved recently, yet the style was unmistakably medieval. Look at this. Evan pointed to a large emblem depicting a sword crossed with a key, entwined in vines. What does it mean? Ronan studied the image, his brows furrowing. It's a symbol of knowledge and power, a key to hidden truths. The Templars believed knowledge was their greatest weapon. Evan felt a chill run down his spine. And they were willing to fight for it, he murmured, recalling the earlier warnings. The chamber's atmosphere shifted, an almost electric tension hanging in the air. Evan could feel the weight of eyes unseen, the very stones of the abbey seeming to hold breath, waiting. Suddenly, the ground shook, sending a tremor through the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling, and Evan grabbed Ronan's arm instinctively. "What now?" Evan's voice quivered with urgency. "We need to activate the failsafe," Ronan shouted, eyes darting to a series of ancient gears embedded in the wall. "They're linked to the vault." Ronan hurried to a pedestal with an intricately designed wheel. "Help me with this." Evan rushed to his side, adrenaline surging through him. "What do I do?" "Turn it counterclockwise while I pull this lever," Ronan instructed. Evan gripped the wheel with both hands, feeling the chill of the ancient metal. He twisted it with all his strength, a grinding noise echoing as the gears began to shift reluctantly. The chamber rumbled again, louder this time. "Faster," Ronan urged, his voice strained. Evan pushed harder, his muscles screaming in protest. The wheel clicked into place, and with a final sharp tug from Ronan, the ground trembled again. But this time, it was accompanied by a low grinding noise, as if the very earth was awakening. Shadows shifted, pooling and stretching in the corners of the chamber, growing darker as a heavy door began to slide open in the far wall, revealing an inner vault glimmering with the promise of secrets. "Get ready," Ronan said, stepping back as the door creaked wider. "This is it." Evan's breath caught in his throat. What lay inside was the culmination of his search, the Templar vault. But the thrill of discovery was tainted by an underlying dread. As the door swung fully open, an icy draft swept through the chamber, flickering their lights. The vault was filled with shelves upon shelves, each lined with scrolls and ledgers, dust-coated but untouched by time. "Look at this," Evan whispered, stepping forward, his instincts screaming at him. "It's all here." Ronan followed, scanning the room with a fierce intensity. "This is more than just history. This could change everything." Just then, a loud crash echoed from the entrance, shattering their moment of awe. "Damn," Ronan cursed, eyes wide with realization. "They found us." Evan's heart pounded as he exchanged a glance with Ronan. "We have to secure the vault. It can't fall into the wrong hands." "Agreed," Ronan said, urgency lacing his tone. "But we need to act fast. We can't trust anyone outside." They began to frantically sift through the ledgers, skimming the spines for anything that might provide insight into the Templars' true purpose. Evan's hands trembled as he opened the first ledger. The ancient pages crackled beneath his touch. The words were a mix of Latin and archaic French, revealing trade routes, hidden locations, and complex codes. "What do you see?" Ronan asked, his voice tight with anticipation. Evan read aloud. "This one mentions a continuity plan, a set of procedures to follow if the Order faced annihilation. They were prepared for something big enough to sacrifice everything they had." Ronan replied, flipping through another ledger. "There has to be something in here that explains why they chose Bayham Abbey." Suddenly, the chamber shook violently again, this time causing dust to rain down like a storm. Evan's pulse quickened. They had to move. "We don't have much time," Evan shouted, scanning the room for anything else that could help. "We need to find the heart of this plan." Ronan nodded, eyes narrowing in focus. "The heart is often hidden in symbols. Look for anything that seems out of place." As Evan continued to flip through the scrolls, he felt a nagging sensation. The realization that they were being watched lingered in his gut. The feeling intensified with every passing second. Then, from the corner of his eye, he noticed a large tapestry hanging dimly against the far wall, partially obscured by shadows. "Over there," his voice surged with newfound hope. Ronan followed his gaze. "What is that?" With urgency, they approached the tapestry, its fabric heavy with age. When they pulled it aside, they revealed an engraved stone panel. "What is this?" Ronan traced his fingers over the surface. "These symbols, they're the same as on the ledgers. But why here?" Evan wondered aloud, heart racing. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed again, this time closer. "We're running out of time," Ronan yelled, his voice laced with a mix of panic and determination. Evan's hand hovered over the symbols, trying to decipher what lay before them. If this is the key, we have to unlock it now. With a surge of adrenaline, they pressed their hands against the panel, the symbols glowing faintly beneath their palms. Evan could feel the power pulsing through the stone, a connection to the past, to the Templars who had once walked these halls. They were on the brink of uncovering something monumental, something that could shift the balance of power today. But then the door burst open, and figures clad in dark uniforms flooded in, their faces obscured by masks. The tension in the chamber snapped like a taut string. "Step away from the vault," a voice commanded, sharp and authoritative. Evan's heart sank. The continuation had found them. The weight of the secrets hung heavy in the air as Evan and Ronan stood frozen, caught between history and the modern world, their fates intertwining with forces far beyond their control. As shadows closed in, Evan knew they had a choice to make: confront the danger head-on, or flee with the knowledge they had uncovered, risking it all for a chance at truth. What would he choose?
Chapter 4, The Confrontation. Evan's mind raced as he processed the sudden intrusion. The masked figures moved with precision, their dark uniforms blending seamlessly into the shadows of the chamber. Every instinct told him to run, but the weight of the knowledge they had uncovered anchored him in place. He shared a quick glance with Ronan, whose expression mirrored his own blend of fear and resolve. "Get behind me," Evan whispered, his voice barely louder than a breath. Ronan nodded, inching closer to the wall, ready to take cover if necessary. The lead figure stepped forward, the glint of a weapon catching the flickering light from Evan's drang. "I said step away from the vault." Evan felt an icy knot form in his stomach. "Who are you? What do you want?" The figure removed their mask, revealing a woman with fierce, penetrating eyes. "I'm here to ensure these secrets stay buried, just as they were meant to be." Evan's heart sank. This was no random group. This was the continuation, the shadowy order that claimed to be the rightful heirs of the Templars. "You're trying to protect history by erasing it?" His voice trembled with indignation. "History is a weapon, Mercer," she replied sharply, her voice smooth yet laced with threat. "And you're holding a loaded gun." Evan's gaze darted between the intruders and the engraved stone panel. The symbols pulsed faintly beneath his touch, urging him to act. "You can't stop us from revealing the truth." The woman's eyes flickered with annoyance. "Truth? You think you're ready for the truth? You're just a pawn in a game far beyond your understanding." Evan clenched his jaw, defiance flooding his veins. "If I'm a pawn, then what does that make you? A queen? A king?" She laughed, a chilling sound that echoed off the chamber walls. "Oh, Evan, you have no idea what you're playing with." Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath them, sending vibrations through the stone chamber. Dust rained down as the walls groaned ominously. Evan exchanged a hurried glance with Ronan, who looked just as unsettled. "We need to." "Enough." The woman raised her weapon, pointing it directly at Evan. "You will leave this vault and never return. You have no idea what you're risking. I'll give you one chance. Walk away." Evan's heart raced, but he couldn't let fear dictate his actions. "I'm not afraid of you." The words burst from him, filled with a mix of anger and determination. "Not anymore." Ronan suddenly grabbed Evan's arm. "Evan, think about what you're doing." But Evan shook his head, his gaze fixed on the engraved panel. "This is our only chance to unlock the past. We can't let them destroy this." The woman's expression hardened. "You're mistaken if you think this is just a choice between you and me. You're playing with forces that even the continuation cannot fully control." Evan's resolve deepened. Then maybe it's time someone took that risk. With a surge of adrenaline, he pressed his hands firmly against the panel. The symbols flared brightly, illuminating the chamber in a blinding light. "Ronan, help me!" As Ronan joined him at the stone, a series of clicks resonated through the vault. The panel shifted, revealing a hidden compartment behind it. "No," the woman shouted, panic slicing through her earlier composure. "You don't know what you're unleashing." Evan's heart slammed against his ribcage as he reached inside the compartment. His fingers brushed against something cold and metallic, an ancient key, intricately designed and heavy with history. "Evan, we need to go," Ronan urged, pulling at Evan's sleeve. But the words felt distant. All Evan could hear was the pounding of his own heart and the rush of possibilities unfolding before him. This key, it could be the heart of their continuity plan. The moment felt surreal, like they were standing on the edge of a precipice, ready to plunge into the unknown. The air crackled with energy, a palpable force that hinted at the weight of what they had just unearthed. Then the woman lunged forward, desperation etched across her face. "Stop. You have no idea what you're doing." Evan's instincts kicked in. He sidestepped, barely avoiding her grasp, but she spun around, her weapon now pointed towards him. "I will not warn you again." Sweat dripped down Evan's back. If he didn't act now, they might not get another chance. He glanced at Ronan, who nodded, understanding the silent urgency between them. "Ronan, cover me," Evan shouted, gripping the key tightly. Ronan positioned himself in front of Evan, prepared to defend against the oncoming threat. The tension in the air thickened, each second stretching like an eternity. "Get ready," Evan breathed, heart racing. "I'm going to unlock whatever this is." With a steadying breath, he turned the key in the ancient lock. It fitted perfectly, spinning with a satisfying click that resonated in the silence. The chamber shook again, but this time it felt different, like the walls themselves were awakening from a long slumber. Series of symbols around the chamber began to glow in rhythm to the energy coursing through the air. The woman's expression shifted from anger to horror as she realized what they were doing. "No, stop." But it was too late. The key turned fully, triggering an overwhelming rush of light and sound. Evan shielded his eyes, feeling the ground tremble beneath him like a wild beast awakening. "Evan," Ronan's voice was fierce, laced with urgency. "We need to get out of here." Before Evan could respond, the chamber erupted into chaos. Walls shook violently, and a blast of air surged through the room, pushing them backward. Dust and debris filled the air, and Evan felt a surge of panic wash over him. "Run!" he screamed, adrenaline propelling him forward as he stumbled toward the exit. Behind him, the vault began to collapse, but he could hear the woman's voice cutting through the cacophony. "You don't know what you've done." Evan didn't look back. He felt the weight of history pressing down on him, and he knew that whatever they had just unleashed could change everything. As they barreled out of the chamber, the echoes of their footsteps mixed with the rumbling chaos behind them. They were stepping out of the shadows and into a world that would never be the same. What lay ahead might be uncertain, but one thing was clear: they were no longer just explorers. They were now part of a story that spanned centuries, and a time for hiding was over. The truth was no longer buried, it had awakened, and it was hungry for revelation.
"Keep moving! We can't let them catch us!"
Just a little further. The stakes had never been higher, and Evan knew the path forward was fraught with peril. Yet, with each step, they were closer to uncovering the ultimate truth behind the Templars and the legacy they had left behind. As they burst from the depths of the Abbey into the cool night air, he felt a chilling certainty settle within him. This was just the beginning. Chapter 5: The Awakening. The night air wrapped around Evan and Ronan as they stumbled out of the Abbey, lungs heaving from exertion and fear. The earth rumbled beneath their feet, echoing the chaos that had erupted behind them. Evan glanced over his shoulder. The entrance was engulfed in swirling dust and shadows, an ominous reminder of the secrets they had just unearthed. A primal instinct urged him forward. They had to get as far away as possible.
"We need to find cover. They'll be coming for us." Ronan nodded, eyes wide with panic, and sprinted ahead toward the tangled trees that bordered the Abbey grounds. The sound of footsteps, heavy, deliberate, echoed through the night. Evan's heart raced. They weren't alone. As they plunged into the dense underbrush, Evan's mind raced. The key had unlocked more than just a chamber. It had triggered a series of events that might lead to their undoing. The woman's warning haunted him. "You don't know what you've done." What had they awakened? "Ronan, we can't just run blindly. We need to think." His breath came in ragged gasps as they ducked behind a massive oak tree, its gnarled branches providing a brief sanctuary. The shadows flickered around them, illuminated intermittently by distant flashes of light from the Abbey. "Do you hear that?" Ronan whispered, pressing his back against the rough bark. Fear danced in his eyes. "They have backup. We need to figure out where to go next, and fast." Evan nodded. He recalled the encrypted Templar intelligence ledgers they had glimpsed in the vault. Those documents held the key to understanding the full scope of what they had unleashed. but how could they access them without being caught? "Back to the van," Evan suggested, voice low but firm. "There's a chance I stashed the drone controls in there. We might be able to use it to scout the area." "Do you think it's safe?" Ronan asked, a tremor in his voice. "We don't have much choice," Evan replied, eyes scanning the darkened landscape. "If we don't act now, we won't get another chance." They moved cautiously, hearts pounding, navigating through the thick underbrush. Each snap of a twig beneath their feet sent their adrenaline spiking. The sirens grew louder, punctuating the stillness, and Evan's thoughts raced. As they neared the van, Evan's stomach twisted with anxiety. He could already hear the echoing chaos of their discovery reverberating in his mind. What had been a simple exploration had morphed into a dangerous game of cat and mouse. Suddenly, a flashlight beam swept across their hiding place, illuminating Ronan's anxious face. "Shit," he hissed, ducking lower. "Stay still," Evan whispered, heart pounding in his ears. The beam of light lingered for a moment before moving away, leaving them cloaked in darkness once more. "Now," Evan urged, sprinting towards the van. They reached the vehicle, breathless and trembling. Evan fumbled with the door handle, praying it would open. It creaked, giving way to the chaos within. They slipped inside, and Evan quickly grabbed the drone controls from the glove compartment. "Okay, let's see what we're up against," Evan muttered, powering the drone on. The small device whirred to life, its camera blinking with a dull green light. He lifted it, guiding the drone out of the van's window, heart racing as the drone ascended into the night sky. "Be careful," Ronan cautioned, eyes glued to the screen as images of the Abbey began to flicker. "If they see it, they won't. Not if we keep it low," Evan said, focusing on the display. The drone hovered cautiously over the ruins, revealing the tumultuous scene below. Shadows moved among the rubble, figures clad in dark clothing searching the area. "They're looking for us." "We need to figure out who they are," Ronan replied, peering at the screen. "Can you get closer?" Evan nodded, adjusting the controls. As they maneuvered the drone, shapes began to form, the figures revealing themselves as members of Helix Guard. The tension in the van thickened like fog. They had been prepared for this. It was no coincidence that they were here. "What the hell?" Ronan whispered, anxiety flooding his voice. "How did they know?" "I don't know," Evan replied, brows furrowed. "But we have to find the ledgers before they do." He tightened his grip on the controls, pushing the drone further into the air. Suddenly, a shadow emerged from the darkness, and Evan's breath caught in his throat as he recognized the woman from the Abbey. "She's here," he exclaimed, pointing at the screen. "She was part of the group we saw earlier. What does she want?" Ronan leaned closer, eyes sharp with curiosity. "Maybe she's part of the continuation?" "That's what I'm afraid of," Evan responded, shifting the drone's camera to get a better view. "She knows about the Templar secrets. She may have even been waiting for someone to unlock that chamber." Suddenly, the figures shifted, splitting into two groups. One moved toward the trees near the van. The other approached the Abbey. "Shit, they're splitting up," Evan hissed, panic bubbling in his throat. "We need to decide fast. What do we do?" "Let's follow her," Ronan suggested, voice low but urgent. "She might lead us to the vault." Evan hesitated, torn between caution and the burning need for answers. Time was slipping away, and with it, the chance to uncover the truth. "Okay," he said finally, his voice steady. "Let's do it." He adjusted the drone's flight path, urging it to follow the woman. They had to uncover the secrets hidden beneath Bayham Abbey. They needed to know why the Templars chose this place, and what it meant for the world now. As the drone glided silently through the air, Evan felt a strange mix of hope and dread. They were drawing closer to the heart of the mystery, but what awaited them could unleash forces far beyond their comprehension. Evan's heart raced as they moved deeper into the unfolding web of secrets. This was the moment they had been waiting for, but as they ventured into the unknown, one question loomed large. Could they handle the truth once it was revealed?
Chapter 6. The Heart of the Mystery. Evan's fingers danced over the drone's controls, sweat pooling beneath his collar as he followed the woman into the shadows of the trees. The faint glow of the drone's camera illuminated her features, determined, shrouded in secrecy. A part of him felt the urge to turn back, to retreat from the mounting dread that swirled in his gut. But he pushed that instinct aside. They needed answers. The distant rustle of leaves and muted sounds of the forest surrounded them, amplifying the tension in the van. "Keep the drone steady," Ronan instructed, his voice barely above a whisper. "We can't lose sight of her." Evan nodded, focusing intently on the screen. The image revealed the woman moving with purpose, leading them deeper into the dark embrace of the forest. Shadows danced around her, branches creaking in the wind. He felt the weight of the moment pressing on him, the culmination of every decision they had made coming to a head. "Look," Ronan pointed at the display. "There's a clearing up ahead." The drone glided smoothly toward the opening, revealing a small stone structure partially obscured by underbrush. It resembled a tombstone more than a building, aged and weathered, yet emanating a quiet authority that sent chills down Evan's spine. "What is that place?" Evan murmured, captivated yet apprehensive. "I don't know, but it looks important," Ronan replied, squinting at the screen. "We should land the drone." As Evan prepared to descend the drone, the woman paused before the structure. She scanned the area, her expression shifting from determination to uncertainty. The moment stretched, and Evan held his breath. "Damn it," Ronan whispered. "She knows we're here." Evan maneuvered the drone lower, its propellers casting shadows on the ground. They had to be cautious. The stakes had never been higher. Suddenly, the woman turned sharply and disappeared behind a stone facade. "Where did she go?" Evan asked, glancing at Ronan, his heart racing. Panic rose as he hovered the drone near the entrance. "I can't see her," Ronan strained. "Wait, what's that?" A sudden noise echoed through the clearing, footsteps approaching. Evan's breath hitched. They weren't alone. The crunching of gravel and leaves echoed as figures emerged from the shadows. "They're coming," Ronan hissed, eyes wide. "What do we do?" Evan's mind raced, adrenaline flooding his veins. He quickly tapped the screen, activating the drone's recording feature. "We need evidence. If we can't get in there, let's at least capture what they're saying." The drone's camera zoomed in, catching glimpses of three figures clad in dark clothing, their faces obscured by hoods. The tension in the air thickened as their voices carried through the clearing. "Did you find it?" one of them asked, urgency lacing his tone. "No, but she's close," replied another, scanning the area. "We need to move. The rest of them won't be far behind." Evan's heart sank. They were here for the same reason. "Ronan, we need to warn her," he whispered, an uneasy knot forming in his stomach. "If they find her first—" "Evan, look," Ronan interrupted, pointing at the screen. The woman re-emerged, her face taut with focus as she edged toward the entrance of the stone structure. A glimmer of metal caught the drone's lens. A key, perhaps? Evan leaned closer, heart hammering in his chest. "Is that a key?" Evan asked, puzzled. "What's she unlocking?" The figure shifted, blocking his view. "We can't just sit here," Ronan said. "Urgent, we can use the drone to distract them while we get closer." Evan swallowed hard, weighing the risks. It was a gamble, but they might not have another opportunity. "Fine, but we have to be quick." He adjusted the drone's altitude and steered it toward the figures. "I'll make some noise." The drone emitted a series of beeps, drawing the attention of the hooded figures. "Over there," one of them shouted, pointing toward the drone. "Get it!" "Now's our chance," Evan thought as he plunged into the trees with Ronan close behind. They had to reach the entrance before the guards caught up with them. They sprinted, limbs flailing through the underbrush. Evan's heart raced nearly out of his chest as they approached the stone structure, adrenaline fueling their every move. The clearing loomed just ahead, and the entrance beckoned like a cave of secrets. "Go, go, go!" Ronan urged, his breath hitching. They dove into the entrance, evading the chaos behind them. The inside was dark, cool stone wrapping around them like a shroud. Evan's drone whirred just outside the threshold, feeding them flickering light. "Did we lose them?" Ronan asked, checking over his shoulder. "For now," Evan replied, scanning the dimly lit space ahead. The woman was just ahead, kneeling beside a small opening in the stone wall, her fingers deftly working against something hidden. Evan couldn't help but feel a spark of admiration. She was fearless, driven by something more than curiosity. "What do you think she's doing?" Ronan asked, a mixture of awe and apprehension in his voice. "If she's unlocking something from the Templars, we need to know what it is," Evan said, moving cautiously toward her. "Stay back. Let's see what she finds." Just then, the woman's hand withdrew, revealing a small, intricately carved box. She whispered a word Evan couldn't make out, and suddenly the box opened with a soft click, a pale blue light spilling from within. A slow, creaking sound as the box revealed its hidden contents. "What the hell?" Ronan breathed, eyes wide as they rushed to peer over her shoulder. Inside the box lay a collection of ancient scrolls, their edges frayed and yellowed with age. The symbols on the scrolls mirrored the carvings Evan had discovered earlier, symbols steeped in Templar lore. This was it, the key to the secrets that had drawn them all here. "We need those," Evan said urgently, glancing at Ronan. "If Helix Guard gets here before we can secure them." "All right, but we have to move fast," Ronan replied, his voice tense. Before they could grab the contents, the sound of footsteps echoed from the entrance. Evan's heart sank. "They're here," he hissed, eyes darting around the chamber. The woman's expression turned to one of fierce determination. "You need to leave, now. I'll hold them off." "No way," Evan shouted, the impulse to protect her rising. "We can't just leave you." "Just go," she commanded, her voice like steel. "This is bigger than you know. Find the truth." Evan wanted to argue, but the urgency of the situation pushed him toward the exit. They had to get out, regroup, and figure out their next move. He turned to Ronan, his eyes filled with resolve. "We need to go, now." They sprinted back toward the entrance, the echoes of Helix Guard closing in behind them. Evan's mind raced with questions, the weight of the scrolls heavy on his mind. The truth was closer than it had ever been. But what they had just uncovered hinted at something far more perilous than they had anticipated. As they burst into the night, the tension between them and the encroaching danger lay thick in the air, both a promise and a threat. The Rain, Chapter 7, The Truth Cascade. The rain poured down as Evan and Ronan sprinted into the night, the cold droplets mingling with the adrenaline coursing through their veins. Every footfall echoed in his ears, blending with the distant shouts of Helix Guard as they closed in. The weight of the ancient scrolls pressed against Evan's chest, a reminder of the secrets they held and the danger still looming. The rain continued to patter against the pavement as they raced through the darkened street. "Where do we go now?" Ronan gasped, his breath visible in the chilly air. "They'll be on us any second." Evan's mind raced. "The archives. We need to get back to the London archives. If we can decode those scrolls, we might understand what we're really dealing with." Ronan nodded, determination flashing in his eyes. "Right, but we need a plan. We can't just rush in. Helix Guard will be waiting." They ducked into an alleyway, the shadows swallowing them whole. Evan's heart hammered in his chest. The woman, the one who had unlocked the box, had given them a chance. "We owe her," he whispered, more to himself than Ronan. She knew what was at stake. Ronan glanced sharply at him. "What if they catch her? We should have taken her with us." "She chose to stay," Evan replied, his voice low and tense. "We didn't have time to argue. If Helix Guard gets the scrolls..." He trailed off, the implications settling heavily in his gut. Just then, the faint rumble of a vehicle engine reached their ears. Evan peered cautiously around the corner. A black SUV rolled to a stop at the entrance of the Abbey. Figures in dark suits emerged, flashlights bouncing off the wet pavement as they spread out, searching for them. The sound of heavy boots splashing through puddles filled the air as the agents scoured the area. "Shit," Ronan hissed. "We need to move." They turned to head further down the alley, when suddenly, a flicker of light caught Evan's attention. He turned back, squinting. One of the agents had moved closer, their flashlight illuminating the entrance of the Abbey. "Evan," Ronan whispered urgently, pulling at his arm. "We can't stay here." Evan felt a surge of resolve. They had to get to the archives, but first, they needed to throw off their pursuers. "Let's create a diversion," he said, scanning the alley for anything they could use. Ronan hesitated, his brow furrowing. "How do you plan to do that?" "By making some noise." Evan spotted a dumpster a few feet away and moved toward it, hoping it could serve their purpose. He gripped the edge and tipped it over, the metal crashing against the cobblestones with a loud clang. The echoing crash drew the attention of the agents immediately. "Over there!" one of them shouted, his flashlight beam swinging toward the sound. They rushed forward, leaving the entrance unguarded. Now, Evan urged, pulling Ronan down the alley and into the streets beyond. They ducked into a narrow passage, breaths shallow and quick. As they moved, Evan felt the weight of the scrolls pressing against him, a tangible reminder that they were closer than ever to uncovering the truth. "We need to get these to someone who can help us decode them," he said, glancing sideways at Ronan, who was now fully focused. "Right. The Vatican records might have references," Ronan replied, determination hardening his features. "But we'll need a safe way to access them without drawing attention." They moved swiftly, ducking into another alley that led them toward a busier street. The rain began to let up, but the distant sounds of pursuit still echoed in their minds. "We'll have to be smart about this," Evan cautioned. "Helix Guard might already be onto us." Ronan nodded, scanning the street as they approached a bus stop. "We'll take the next bus to the archives. It's less suspicious." They waited in silence, tension humming between them. The weight of their discovery lingered, a heavy shroud over the promise of what lay ahead. When the bus arrived, they hurried on, blending with the other passengers. Evan's pulse raced as he felt the gaze of a stranger on him. Had they been followed? "Stay calm," Ronan murmured beside him, sensing his anxiety. "We'll be fine." As the bus lurched into motion, Evan focused on the scrolls. Each curve of the ancient script whispered secrets lost to time, truths that could shake the foundations of modern power. But what did it mean for them? Would revealing this knowledge put everyone at risk, or was it their duty to share what they had found? A sudden jolt of fear shot through him. They were playing with forces far greater than themselves. "Evan," Ronan said, breaking him from his thoughts. "What if Helix Guard is waiting for us at the archives?" "I don't know," Evan admitted, "but we can't let that stop us. We've come too far." The bus screeched to a halt, and they exchanged a quick glance before stepping off, the cold air hitting them like a wave. The damp atmosphere contrasted sharply with the bright lights of the city, a reminder of the storm both outside and within. As they made their way to the archives, Evan felt the weight of destiny pressing down on him. The truth cascade was ready to be unleashed, but at what cost? They had the potential to expose corruption, but they also risked everything for knowledge that might be too dangerous to handle. "Stay close," Evan warned as they approached the imposing structure of the archives, its darkened windows reflecting the night sky. "If we can decode the scrolls before Helix Guard catches up, we might just have a fighting chance." They slipped inside, the heavy doors closing behind them with a soft thud. The stillness enveloped them like a cloak, tension rippling in the air as they made their way to the restricted section. Evan's heart raced as he set the scrolls down on a table, unrolling one with trembling fingers. He glanced at Ronan, whose brows were furrowed in concentration. "What do we do if they come?" Ronan asked quietly, the urgency in his voice unmistakable. Evan looked at the scrolls, feeling the weight of their discovery. "We fight," he said, breathing deeply. "We have to know the truth." The flickering overhead lights cast eerie shadows on the walls as they prepared to decode the ancient texts, unaware of the storm brewing just outside. The truth would soon be revealed, and with it, the world would change forever. The quiet rustle of paper filled the air, echoing the gravity of the moment. Little did they know, Helix Guard was already closing in, their mission far from over. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, ring the bell, and tell your friends about my listening library.